It's one of the nation's favourites and it's everywhere this time of the year. You may have given it up for Lent. You may be looking forward to hunting around the garden on Easter Sunday to find it. Today on Digesting Lent, we're talking about chocolate. Why is chocolate such a big thing at this time of the year? Well, historically, Lent was a time to give up eating eggs, and the eggs laid in Holy Week would be decorated and then given to children on Easter Day. These eggs were supposed to represent new life and the end of the fast. Now, the company Rowntree's made their first chocolate Easter egg in 1904, and they've been with us ever since. They've been hugely popular, and I guess for that reason, it's one of the really popular things to give up as well. Easter and chocolate go hand in hand for many of us. I wonder what your favourite type of chocolate is. Why don't you tell us down below in the comments? Are you a Cadbury's Caramel fan, or do you love those Galaxy's Minstrels? They're a real favourite for me as well. Let us know in the comments. People have consumed cocoa products for thousands of years. 4,000 years ago or so in South America, the Aztecs were eating cocoa, but they had it in a bitter paste, which they would drink. Not very similar to the drinking chocolate that we have these days. But still, they loved it. In fact, they felt it was a food worthy of the gods. Well, whatever you think of that, some of the people who were key in bringing chocolate to Easter in this country, for them, God was also a really important part of their life. In 1847, Joseph Fry, the Quaker, discovered a way to make chocolate solid. Rowntree's, famous now though, bought out by Nestle, they too were founded by Quakers. And Cadbury's, with their cream eggs, were founded as well by a Quaker family. And their faith of these founders had a real impact on the way they did business. John Cadbury founded Cadbury's, and under the leadership of his sons, Richard and George, they didn't just focus on making good chocolate. At the same time that they were preparing their first chocolate egg in 1875, Richard and George were developing their idea for Bournville. This model village had the purpose of really giving their workers a great place to live. Richard and George shared a vision of social justice, in which the poor and needy would be lifted up and their needs cared for. They hoped that Bournville would be a place where their workers could flourish. George said that no man ought to be condemned to living in a place where a rose cannot grow. So in Bournville, the brothers developed a space for their workers unlike anything else in Victorian England. Every house was well built with a garden, and there was green place to play sports. There were swimming pools that were built, and there were daily prayers and Bible readings, which continued all the way into the early 1900s. They built schools, they had summer camps, and for the boys and girls at that time, they were all able to enjoy themselves and head away from home. And well ahead of their time, the brothers introduced pensions, they subsidized travel for workers, they had sick pay, all in an effort to ensure the conditions were such that their workers were well looked after. Lent, for many people, is a time of abstinence. But Jesus' ministry was characterized also by abundant generosity. The same Jesus who fasted in the wilderness began his earthly ministry by turning lavish amounts of water at a wedding into wine, and the best wine at that. He famously fed more than 5,000 people with just bread and fish. And he told the parable of a vineyard owner who generously paid the daily wage to all his workers, whether they'd worked just a few hours or many, the whole day, as a picture of the generosity of God. The Cadbury brothers also followed this example of generosity set out by Christ Jesus in the way they loved their workers in the workplace. Just as George and Richard loved their workers at their own expense, so it is that God, at his expense, sent his Son to die on the cross for us so that we might be forgiven and be restored to relationship with him. So here's a challenge for you. How can I try and follow the example of generous love? Whether you're in a position of leadership over a company or whether it's all rather smaller scale, can we find an opportunity this Lent to try and reflect Christ's generous love? As it says in the book of Proverbs, he who is generous to the needy honors God. Thanks so much for joining us this week on Digesting Lent. I'm really sorry for all this talk of chocolate is risking making you stumble as you've decided to give it up for Lent. If you have, do stay strong, of course. And if you haven't already, do tell us down in the comments what your favorite type of chocolate is. And don't forget to share this, to like it, and to subscribe to our channel. I'd say I haven't actually had one of these fried chocolate creams before. I think I'm probably going to try it. Just obviously for the benefit of the viewers and kind of to do the right thing. It looks good, creamy. Oh, it feels kind of old school, but the creamy inside is really interesting. Oh, good old Mr. Fry, knew what he was doing. Oh my God, no,